Welcome back to MotionPic Recap. Today we're going to recap the adventure, action and science fiction movie titled, Avatar. Spoilers ahead. Watch out and take care. As a Marine named Jake was lying in the VA hospital, with a bullet hole through his chest, he started having dreams of flying. Sadly, to fix your spine in this economy, you need a lot of money. Since he can't be a Marine, and searches for something to fight for, Jake often ends up in trouble. One day, two men find him, saying his twin brother is dead. They explain to him his brother represented a significant investment, and say because his brother's genome is identical to his, he can step into his shoes and become someone who can make a difference, adding the pay is very good. 6 years later, Jake wakes up in a cryo, and is told they've arrived at Pandora, a planet he never thought he'd be going to. They enter the planet's atmosphere, passing enormous mines, and eventually land at a fortified camp in the woods. Back on Earth, all these guys were Marines fighting for freedom, but are now hired guns for the company. A man called Colonel Miles explains he's there to make sure they all stay alive, but that he won't succeed with all of them. Later, Jake meets Norm, who's an avatar driver. He shows him where he'll work, explaining he'll also drive an avatar, grown from a mix of human DNA and native DNA. He sees the avatar that is matched to him and his nervous system. Jake starts documenting all his experiences, a part of his job. Next up, Jake meets Dr. Grace, who's been avatar driving a long time. Later that day, Grace goes to meet Parker, the company administrator for the mining operations. She's unhappy about receiving Jake on her team, but he explains Jake was assigned to her team to help her, explaining she must find a diplomatic solution with these savages that threaten their whole operation to mine unobtainium, which pays for everything, including her science, worth $20 million a kilo. Not long after, Jake is about to begin his first avatar drive, being put into a cryo-like compartment, after which they link his conscious with the avatar. Next, Jake is in his new body. Norm is also driving for the first time, but Jake is impatient and want to test walking. They tell him to sit down and try to stop him, but he runs out, and slowly starts jogging, and then starts running, something he's longed for a long time. Suddenly, Grace appears, noting his motor function seems good. At nightfall, they let their avatars sleep, and return to their own bodies. Next, Jake meets Trudy, who's piloting an aircraft, and is a man short, asking him to be on the door gun, which he accepts. He then meets Colonel Miles, who knows his story from Venezuela, where he got bitten by a bullet. Miles says the Avatar science program is a joke, but that it can give him intel about the savages' camps, saying he could fix his spine if he agrees on giving him info, and Jake accepts. Next, they are all flying into the woods, showing Jake and Norm the creatures, and Jake absolutely loves the flight. They land, and walk to a nearby house, where Grace used to teach children among the natives the English language. Grace calls the natives Omaticaya, and explains she hopes they return one day so she can read to some of them again, saying the incident where we humans started shooting at them made them stop interacting. Later, as they are analyzing electrical impulses in the vegetation, Jake gets curious. By mistake, he pisses a large animal off. Grace tells him to hold his ground, or he'll be attacked. It charges, and Jake does as he's told. But then another animal appears, and asking if he should hold his ground with this one too, Grace yells he should definitely run. Jake runs as fast as he can, jumping down a cliff into a river. He quickly gets up, and carves a spear to protect himself with. Unaware, a girl from the Omaticaya draws her bow to take him down, when a creature suddenly appears, making her change her mind. Meanwhile, Trudy tells them regulation forbids them to search for Jake any longer, and Grace notes he won't survive the night. As the sun has set, Jake is being hunted by a pack of wolf-like creatures, and has problems defending himself. Suddenly, the native woman called Neytiri appears, saving him, and fending the creatures off, making them run away. She puts his torch out, and ends the injured creatures' lives. Jake tries to thank her, but she's ignoring him. He starts following her, and she suddenly turns around, speaking some English, saying it's his fault they died, that he shouldn't thank for their death. He asks why she saved him then, and she says his heart is strong, even though he's stupid. Jake continues following her, but she tells him to go back and leave her. But then suddenly, creatures appear, which she explains are seeds of the sacred tree, very pure spirits. She can't believe her eyes, telling him to come, and they start running. But not long after, he's attacked, and Neytiri defends him, telling them this demon is different, that Jake is a matter for Zahik. They go to a tremendously large tree, into the tribe, and Jake is shown to their tribe leader, Neytiri's father, who starts consider whether to kill him. As Jack learns it's her father, he tries to greet him, but is stopped. Her mother then appears, and Neytiri explains her mother interprets the will of Iwa. She starts analyzing him, and then asks what he's doing there. Jake says he came to learn, but she notes it's hard to fill a cup that is already full, having tried to teach other humans, and asks what he is. Jake explains his cup is empty, and that he was a warrior where he came from. Neytiri's father gets interested, having never met a human warrior, saying they need to learn from him, and Neytiri is tasked to teach him their ways. First thing, he gets to eat with them, and for the first time, Neytiri and Jake properly introduce themselves to each other. He is then shown how they sleep safely during the night. Jake wakes up, and when they learn he's sleeping at the natives' camp, everyone at base gets either impressed or jealous. Parker tells Jake he needs to find out what the natives want, saying the richest unobtainium deposit within 200 clicks lies right under their enormous tree. Killing the natives looks bad, but stockholders don't care, and so if he can't find a way to make them move, they'll have to kill them. Before returning, Jake learns Tsute will be the next clan leader. Jake asks who Iwa is, and Norm explains it's their goddess made up of all living things. Next, Neytiri teaches Jake to ride, and how to connect to the animals, explaining they will be able to feel each other, and speak to each other inside. He's clumsy, and Tsute appears, making a joke. As he returns, he explains more about the tree, after which he and the others prepare for a field trip. They fly to the floating islands to a portable camp, and Jake learns the unobtainium is what makes the islands float. Inside, Jake can access his avatar. Later, he and Neytiri are climbing the big tree. She calls on a creature, and Jake is amazed. Neytiri explains that unlike other animals, the Ikran bonds with you forever and can't bond to any other rider, and shows him he'll become a hunter once he can do this. Days go by, and Jake learns their language, their hunting techniques, documenting it all, learning from his colleagues. Neytiri explains about the spirits of animals, and honor, and that energy is only borrowed. Jake and Neytiri starts bonding, and Jake manages to get Grace to return to the natives. One day as they are hunting, Neytiri says he's ready for the ultimate test to become a hunter. They go to the floating islands, and start climbing, something that both excites and scares Jake. They make it high up into the atmosphere where the Ikrans live. As they are high enough, Tsute tells Jake he's up, and he walks out on a cliff to catch his Ikran, which he is told he must fly with quickly after connecting to truly bond. Jake almost falls off, but gets up and manages to connect, after which he releases the Ikran. Neytiri says his flight can't wait, and tells him to think fly. Jake first has problems bonding with the Ikran, but then suddenly manages. Suddenly, he's flying like in his dreams, and not long after, Neytiri happily joins him, and they fly through the floating mountains. Jake exclaims he probably not a horse guy, but is born to do this. Neytiri then shows Jake the sacred tree of souls. Later, Grace explains there's something really interesting going on biologically in the tree, causing a flux vortex, and Trudy adds it messes up her instruments. Next up, Tsute and the others have joined Jake and Neytiri, practicing flying, and then practicing hunting together. But then afterwards, they are attacked by something much bigger, and Jake and Neytiri have to fly down into the woods to get away from it. Later that day, Neytiri explains that it's called Turuk, and that her grandfather's grandfather was Turuk Makto, which means Rider of Last Shadow, and who brought the clans together in the Great Sorrow, something that all clans know about. Next, Colonel Miles remarks he's not reported anything for 2 weeks, that it's time to terminate the mission, that he's earned his legs back. Jake however insists there's one more thing he has to do, which will make him one in the clan, after which he can negotiate their relocation. Miles says then he better get it done. Next, Miles earns his place among the people, and becomes a man forever. Afterwards, Neytiri shows him the trees of voices. Neytiri explains that if you connect to the tree, you can hear the voices of their ancestors, who all live within Iwa. She also says he can now choose a woman, and that they have many fine women. Jake however says he's already chosen one, but that this woman also must choose him. Neytiri replies she already has two, and the two begin to bond to each other. The next day, Neytiri wakes up by loud sounds and sees machines destroying the forest. Desperately she tries to wake up Jake, but somewhere else, Jake is eating breakfast. Eventually, he returns, and angry, he immediately jumps up and starts sabotaging one machine such that it can't be maneuvered. He's shot at, and he and Neytiri retreat back to the home tree. Colonel Miles sees the footage and asks his men to get him a helicopter. As Jake and Neytiri returns to the home tree, Neytiri explains they have mated, surprising everybody, and asks them to hear Jake out. But then suddenly, Grace disappears, and then suddenly Jake too. As Jake wakes up, he's knocked out by Miles. Later, Miles tells him he crossed a line, but thanks Jake for all he's done, saying he'll take over now. Meanwhile, Sute and other clan members attack their machines. Afterwards, Miles sees the destruction and that all his men are dead. He tells Parker he can drop gas on them, which is more or less humane, and Parker accepts it. Trudy comes running, saying Miles is gonna hit the home tree. Grace goes to Parker with Jake, asking him to give them a chance to talk them out first. Parker accepts, telling Jake he's got 1 hour to evacuate. Next up, Jake is warning the clan the humans are about to attack them and that they have to leave, or else they'll die. He then tells them he learnt their ways so that he could bring this message one day. Neytiri asks if he knew this would happen, and Jake says yes, but that it was orders from the beginning, but that everything's changed. The clan immediately lose trust in them, and seizes them. Moments later, Miles arrives with his men, remarking Jake has failed his diplomacy. They begin to attack, and the clan retaliates, but without success. Miles orders them to switch to explosives, and they begin firing at the base of the tree, making it start burning. As the clan begins to run to safety, Neytiri's mother walks up to Jake, saying that if he's really one of them, he has to show it. Colonel Miles then suddenly orders to bring the tree down, and they start firing constantly at the base of the tree. Trudy says screw this shit and flies away. Neytiri's father is caught in a blast, and the others try to run away. Suddenly, Miles stops firing, and the tree starts falling. Jake tells them all to run, and as the tree comes crashing down, the clan try their best to avoid being crushed. Afterwards, people watch with despair and sorrow at what has happened. Neytiri finds her father, who's dying, and he gives her his bow. Jake finds her, but she rejects him, telling him to leave them. Parker orders them to pull the plug, and both Grace and Jake are brutally brought back. Next up, Norm, Jake and Grace is in prison, as suddenly Trudy arrives with food. She tricks the guard and calls on her friend Max to help. They all then quickly make it out to the helicopter, and Jake asks Max to stay so they have someone still inside. Colonel Miles is alerted they are trying to escape, and he runs out with a gun and starts shooting at them, but he fails to stop them. Inside the helicopter they are happy, until they see Grace is hit. Next, they bring the portable camp with them, all while Jake cares for Grace. Trudy remarks they won't be able to track them due to the vortex around the Tree of Souls. Without a home, the clan has sought safety at the Tree of Souls too. Norm asks what the plan is, but Jake says there is no plan. As Jake wakes up at the home tree, his Ikran appears, and he tells it he won't like what they'll do next. Next, he's found a Toruk, and figuring the biggest bird in the sky don't look up for dangers, he jumps to it. As the clan is praying, Jake suddenly arrives with the mighty Toruk. They are all amazed at what they see, and Jake slowly walks up to them. He tells Neytiri he's sincerely sorry for everything, and Neytiri replies she was afraid for her people. He walks up to Tsute, who's the new leader, telling him he's a great warrior, and that he needs his help. Tsute looks at the Toruk, and then says he'll fly with him. Jake then asks them to help Grace, who's dying. They bring her to the Tree of Souls, and Neytiri's mother explains that, if she has enough strength, she'll be able to pass through the Eye of Iwa and return into the new body. They all begin to pray, connected to the tree, to help Grace find her way back. Grace turns around, remarking Iwa is real, and disappears. Moments later, Neytiri's mother says she was too weak, and that she's with Iwa now. Jake turns to Tsute, asking him to speak, after which he begins a speech, asking them to fly with him, and fly to all the clans to tell them Turuk Makto calls to them, to gather together and show the humans that they can't take whatever they want, to show that this is their land. The clan cheers, and they all run to their Ikrans, flying out together. They fly to the horse clans of the plain, the Four Winds, and the clan at the Eastern Sea, and when Turuk Makto called them, by Iwa they came. Meanwhile, Miles tells his men that the hostiles have gone from 200 to 2,000 in one day, and that they might be 20,000 in a week. He tells them they will fight terror with terror, saying they'll blast a crater in their memory so deep they'll never set a foot within 1,000 clicks from them again. Max informs the team about what's happening, saying Miles will attack tomorrow. Jake tells them if they bring the fight to them, their missile tracking won't work, giving them a big advantage. Next, Jake goes to the Tree of Souls, praying, asking Iwa to help him in whatever way she can. Neytiri comes up to him, saying Iwa doesn't take sides, and Jake says it was worth a try. Next day, Colonel Miles and his men leave base, and fly into the floating mountains. Meanwhile, Jake and all the clans prepare to defend. Miles orders the ground force to prepare for assault. They close in on the Tree of Souls, but they see no hostiles in sight. They prepare to offload explosives. Suddenly a soldier notices movement on the ground, and the ground force prepare for attack. Then suddenly, Jake starts attacking from the sky too with Neytiri and Tsute. The ground force starts shooting, and Miles orders to break formation and attack all hostiles. Norm's horse is killed, and the Omotikai on the ground start falling back, being attacked from above. Miles starts focusing fire on Jake, but then Trudy appears attacking back. Colonel Miles instead attacks her, and sadly, her helicopter is hit and starts going down. In the forest, Neytiri Zikrin is fired at, and is killed. Meanwhile, Sute attacks the mothership to stop it, but is shot at with a machine gun, and falls off, landing on the ground. Norm is shot, and then Trudy, who's unable to navigate her vehicle, is blown up. As everything seems lost, and Miles is almost above the Tree of Souls, the ground soldiers sees movement. Neytiri, who's hiding from the soldiers, suddenly sees animals appearing, that start to attack the ground forces unstoppably. Neytiri exclaims in happiness that Iwa has heard Jake's calling, and Jake sees the sky filling with Ikrans. On the ground, all sorts of animals start attacking the soldiers, and Neytiri makes an unusual bond. Jake jumps down onto the mothership, starting to attack. Miles orders the drop of explosives, and at that moment, Jake throws a grenade at one of the engines. The ship starts falling, and then crashes. Jake attacks the control ship, but Miles sees him and tries to avoid him from blasting them from the sky, but fails, and an engine blows. Miles quickly makes it to his assault machine, surviving the crash. As he starts to move, he quickly notices the portable camp that Jake is in. He's about to blast it when suddenly Neytiri appears. They start to fight each other, but Miles then picks out a knife and stabs the animal such that it dies. When he's about to stab Neytiri too, who's stuck, Jake appears telling Miles it's all over. Miles says nothing's over so long he's breathing, and then the two start fighting. Their fight is intense, and Jake manages to take his knife away, and then hits Miles so hard, the compartment is compromised. Miles then remarks it's time to wake up, and destroys the camp. The camp starts filling with gas, and Jake has a hard time staying awake as he can't breathe. Miles picks him up and is about to kill him, when suddenly Neytiri gets loose, picks up her father's bow, and shoots Miles. Jake tries his best to get an oxygen mask to breathe. Neytiri tries to wake Jake up, but he doesn't. As Jake has lost all oxygen in his blood, Neytiri runs to the camp to check. She sees him, and puts on the mask. A few moments later, he becomes conscious, and they share a short moment of peace together. Next, he and Neytiri finds Sute, who's dying. Sute asks Jake to lead his people for him, asking to be remembered as the brother of Turuk Makto, who was his last shadow. Jake says he can't kill him, but Sute says it's the way, and Jake says he's honored. He ends Sute's life, and prays. Next up, they force all the humans, except for a few, to leave for good. In his last video log, Jake explains that whatever happens, he's not going back to this place, saying he better go since he don't want to be late for his party, saying it is his birthday after all. In the final scene, Jake goes through the Eye of Iwa to his new body. The end. Thank you for watching. Make sure to subscribe if you'd like to see more videos like this, and hit the like button to help us out. Until next time, take care.